So to be clear, we're sort of outlining what we envision trying to do, but the real purpose of this meeting tonight is to get from you all what your communities need, what you would like for us to be able to do for you.
Mm-hmm. I know some other MFMs who are not allowed to do breaches, even though they're the breach expert in their town, because their hospitals won't let them do it. This is affecting it's not just affecting home birth midwives, it's affecting, the most highly trained physicians out there who are unable to practice according to their training and their best knowledge, and in part because their peers are not educated. And so it's the lack of education from their peers that limits their advancement. And I think there's a case to be made in terms of those phrases, career satisfaction, advancement opportunities. The systematic lack of education about this thing is actually inhibiting the ones who do know how to do this from actually even being able to practice medicine. And we have to educate their peers in order to enable them to attend vaginal breech births.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Divine, and I'm in Opelousas, Louisiana, and we're a rural area in Southwest Louisiana. And we're hoping to bring breech without orders to Lafayette, which is our nearest major city, about 30 miles from us. I'm liking what I'm hearing about it being directly dealing with, being able to train those of and underserved communities in their fields, because at least for those of us that's in some of the more rural areas, we don't get the big trainings. And so either you have to go to New Orleans, or you have to go to Houston, or you have to go to Atlanta. And what people don't understand is things may be in a big state, but the whole state is rural. So the traveling makes a big difference, and as far as birth workers, a lot of us are spaced out. So it's always like trying to find ways in which we can all come together, but we're kind of, spaced out. So we kind of have to bite the bullet sometimes and say, hey, I'm making that 3 or 4, 5 hour drive within the same state to go and catch a training. So I'm excited to hear more about this grant. This is my first time on the call with you all, so I'm really just listening in and learning more. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're saying and talking like, listen, we're hearing all of this stuff. Breach happens, breach is a normality, for many. Having the skills to properly know how to manage, those breaches is what we need, and properly know how to teach those birthers who will be experiencing, their babies in breech positions is what is needed. Teaching them not to fear what breech has been delivered in the cotton fields. Mm-hmm. Once we get training like this, it's a lot easier for us to approach other, entities within the community, because we have this extra, training, because it makes it more visible for us to be out in the community. So then we're better received. So that is an A+ on everybody's part. I thank you so much.
Yeah.
I also love the idea of when grants are given out, that to whomever received those grants, that they are held accountable, doing, a certain number of births, and collecting their data. How is this working in terms of decreasing the maternal and infant mortality rates in some of these very high areas like I live in. Mm-hmm. So I'm just very impressed and very intrigued, and also blessed that many of you are taking the stand to continue the work in trying to help underserved communities, be where they can be. I have to look at it in terms of where I'm living, and especially now during COVID, these mothers may not have an opportunity to get to the hospital, and there may be, breech birth. So someone has to be able to assist them or teach them, what to expect and what to look for. Mm-hmm. And I am just so grateful to have this opportunity to say that I really want to be on board because it is needed. It is needed, and it's a shame that we have taken breech birth out of the normality of,
Absolutely.
of birth. And I myself witnessing, you know, traumatic events, because when you bring a mother in here in Louisiana, you cannot do a breech birth, you know, according to our laws in a home birth setting unless,
Hmm.
you know, birth is imminent. But you still have to call, you
Hmm.
know, and you in the ambulance, and then you get to the hospital and they're pushing the baby back up, or they're running them to emergency, you know, C-sections
Yep.
because they're not comfortable
Yep.
doing it. You know,
Sure.
so I am
Absolutely.
so pleased once again, and I am on board. I really want to learn the, you know, the proper way of doing things. There's an old cliche that says, you know, practice makes perfect. I disagree, because you can perfectly do something wrong. So
True.
you know, so I want to learn how to properly do it, you
Hmm.
know, and to continue you know, get all these things and knowledge and understanding and pass it on. And I really applaud all of you. But I want to stay in touch. I'm so pleased. I want to thank you from a healthcare professional, and I want to thank you from a woman of color, you know, that in these times where everything is a black and white issue, I'm saying that when there are people who have a heart to keep humanity going forward, is where I stand. So thank all of you.
Thank you.
Very. Thank you, Charlotte.
I work with most of the communities that you speak about, but one of the things is that a lot of the communities that I work with are very low income, so it's hard. For example, I don't get paid for most of my work, so it's hard to pay for a training when you're not receiving.
Yeah.
Another thing that I feel that is very important, besides teaching these skills, is also some cultural competency with it, because you have some midwives that will wonder why this person doesn't eat this way, or why this person is in the situation they're in, and they don't understand the whole context of the population they're serving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a suggestion that that if we could somehow link the training with a little bit more, it would be very helpful. One of the things that I would like to see, if possible, and it's just like a thought, is that if somebody receives this grant, they allocate certain amount of births that they attend to, kind of like a gifting forward, because a lot of people might take this grant and then learn these skills and then double charge. So we're back to square one, where a person of color or an immigrant worker or somebody cannot afford the midwife or the birth attendant because the price is in the 5,000s.
Yeah.
So if okay, so you took our class, now X amount of births you know you attend, because that way we're sure that these skills are being used where they were intended with the training. That's a problem we have here. A lot of the midwives that are attending here, they attend births, but they're charging $5,000-$6,000, and the people that really need to have home births due to trauma or inequities and things like that are not receiving the services that they need because they cannot afford it. So here I am doing these, not getting any income, and it goes back to the inequity. So we have midwives that will making this income, taking these trainings, and then going and charging. So what happened?
Hi, I'll go. So I'm from North Carolina, and I'm a resident family medicine physician. I think what you're doing is great, and I've been following you guys online for quite a while. One thing that I've noticed is that some of the certified practical midwives that I'm running into don't feel comfortable doing breech, and they refer over to us, and we get backed into doing a C-section because of hospital policies. So I think your idea is awesome. I think that having it in that community would also be helpful because some of our midwives I've noticed don't feel comfortable or they don't have the finances to travel. Mm-hmm. And they get nervous about the liability risk associated with breach. So I think the more education might help. I like the idea of train the trainer because that means that as a resident physician, and even as a physician, I might be able to turn around and get help from somebody in my own community and learn.
We are pretty much in a desert in northern Minnesota. There's very few hospitals now that allow birth in their facility. Mm-hmm. So if we have a breach, they are automatically going in for a cesarean. Mm-hmm. So if we have to send them to the metro, that can be easily 6 hours for people to go.
Oh my goodness.
We are not 15 minutes from a hospital. We're not. If our people have to go to the hospital, they're looking at a life flight. Mm-hmm.
I can chime in too. I'm here in New York, but also near the border of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And we have maternity care deserts here. We've had at least 12 counties that don't have any maternity care services. One county, Steuben County, closed down their maternity care, and there's a huge, huge Amish community in that county. Up in Ontario or Orleans County, the same thing, and then now ECMC just closed their maternity in October. Mm-hmm. Wow! So these women have minimum an hour to get to a hospital. In the meantime, they're criminalizing midwifery and midwives and criminalizing birthing families. So I've had to move my practice over to the PA border. Because this year I'll serve 170 families. Wow. And there are no hospitals anywhere around that do breech delivery at all, and I'm the only breech provider.
Yeah.
I'm just south of Harrisburg, but I serve about a 2.5 hour radius of Harrisburg. I serve 2 Amish communities, one north of me, one south of me. And they are a minimum 45 to 50 minutes from a hospital, and it's a community hospital, not a conglomerate. Mm-hmm. So Hershey Medical Center would be the closest transfer for emergency purposes, or NICU. And then to the west of me, between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, there's a huge rural community that is heavily populated by Mennonites. And they are severely underserved. I have served a couple of families out that way that it's an hour and a half or so drive for me to get to them. And so if we're looking at horse and buggy families, they're never going to get to hospital facilities in a timely manner if there's some sort of an emergency. And even like midwifery services in that area are really lean. There's not a lot of us because those of us who are around are really busy already.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Knapp. I know you can't see me very well because I'm driving, but I can also attest to, I'm from Northwest Minnesota. Molly Trombley is 2.5 hours east of me.
Okay.
I'm driving because I've been on the road since 7 this morning seeing moms and babies. I serve about a 2.5 hour radius. I have families that I am serving that are about 110 miles from any hospital.
Wow.
So, I go into North Dakota, and I serve about 100 families a year. I serve 8 Amish communities. As well as some Hawaiian and Mennonite, other conservative groups. I also have 2 Russian Orthodox communities in my area. I've actually done a large number of breach compared to a lot of the people in my state. So I'm doing what I can to teach people just general skills, especially amongst my Amish birth attendants. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not receptive to training.
Why is that?
Part of it is because I am younger than them. A lot of the Amish have you are supposed to be married and have had children of your own. That's the only way you can be a midwife.
Okay.
And so I am younger than them, although I am in my 40s now. I'm single, and I'm not Amish.
Okay.
There is one Amish midwife who is very receptive. And actually last year, when you did the workshop in Decorah, I watched it online, and she came and watched it too. She said, "Don't tell anybody," but I'm watching it online.
There's a lot of different Amish in a lot of different groups, and they have a lot of different what they accept and what they wouldn't. And regardless of how conservative they are or not, in my area, I have a lot of midwives, but we have a lot of Amish, and from the Schwarzentroober Amish that use horse and buggy and don't use the phone, to the Holmes County Amish that use drivers and own vehicles and have people just drive them around for them. So there's a huge spectrum of who we serve, but for the majority, I think all of them really, really care about keeping their moms with midwives and having things natural and having their autonomy. So I feel like there would be cases where some of them would be open to getting even an allowance to see things or to be part of things to further that, you know, in their own communities. There's not a lot of Amish midwives. I mean, there's a lot of plain midwives, but I don't know. As far as a horse and buggy, there's a few, but a lot of them have gotten old and kind of quit.
When you say getting an allowance, you're like from the elders of the church or community? Bishops.
Yeah.
So that's something that can happen in
Yeah.
communities as a rule.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
Plan ahead and reach
And get
out
feedback.
to people
Yeah.
and get them to get the. Yeah.
And as a whole, you know, they change very slowly, which has made them who they are. But I think that if they're to see that you respect that and you're willing to really work with them, I feel like there's an openness there.
Okay.
I'm here in New York. CPMs are usually the midwives who are most apt to be willing to support, breech. That there are very few providers here who will do it. One of the midwives that I partner with here, we've done a number of twin home births this year. Most of the babies were breech successfully, beautifully, and there are not many out here who are willing, but there are many home birth midwives who are intrigued by it, but I think afraid, just because they haven't been to a workshop, they just don't have confidence in the hand skills. So I think especially for, families who don't have any other recourse and definitely do not want to have a C-section. And not many hospitals, unless both babies are, magically head down and, all these parameters kind of have to happen, that they're looking for other options and really trying to find providers. So without letting that, one midwife who's willing to do it and myself, I think it would be great if we had, this type of training so that midwives, student midwives, traditional birth attendants, whomever, would be able to have these skills and we can serve more people. So, yeah, I think everything that you guys are planning on doing is amazing, and I'm going to fill out the survey and provide more feedback and encourage some other midwives out here to do the same. I was at your workshop last year, October? Yeah, last year, October, which was amazing and really gave me the push to want to assist this midwife who's been, doing breech and doing twins. And yeah, it's an incredible year. I mean, 5 sets of twins. It was, amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.